Mud, death, illness, and despair were all part of the unrelenting torment that was trench life. In addition to fighting the enemy, soldiers also had to contend with the harsh environment and their sense of inevitable fate, which meant they were always in danger, afraid, and bored. This provides an insight into their harsh and unforgiving reality. I'd want to sum up trench life in one word: horrifying. Soldiers in a trench adopt the mindset that everyone will perish because of the mud, death, rats, and stink. There were multiple lines of trenches, and the front-line trenches were the most hazardous because they were continuously under fire. Life in the trenches was appalling. The Germans worked diligently to dig dry, secure, and cozy trenches for themselves, complete with bunkers that occasionally had running water and electricity. Their trenches were sometimes muddy, wet, and not very safe because the British and French, who were certain they wouldn't be there for that long, didn't put in nearly as much work. The disease spreads quickly, making it hard to obtain any kind of sleep, eat a satisfying hot meal, keep your clothing dry, and, most importantly, maintain your sanity. Direct fire did not take as many troops out of action as a variety of health issues and simple diseases. Boredom is, I believe, one term that would surprise people about trench life. The daily grind of being confined to this tiny area and fighting for a war that is fought in inches takes up a lot of time, as does sitting around cleaning tools and being terrified that the conflict will begin in a minute. Since the war's technology had advanced to the point where machine guns and artillery could hurl shells a mile, the idea of open warfare and fighting out into what they called no man's land was not working. Early on, the conflict primarily became defensive, and since you wanted to protect your troops in a defensive war, miles and miles of trenches were constructed. Bodies were frequently buried in the trench sides, while some were left exposed in front of the trenches. In addition to the conflict they were currently engaged in, the soldiers were also experiencing the war that had been raging in those trenches for all of the war's years. "I haven't been killed yet, but it's only a question of time," a young lieutenant writes to his mother. Soldiers felt that way about life in the trenches. You just lived day to day, trying to keep your chin up, but one day a bullet would have your name on it, and you would die and not be able to return home.